Okay, I'm going to try this again. I thought I was recording and I don't think I was. What I'm going to try to do is do an entire syllogism that covers all the lessons in one argument here. So I'll try to break it down. Each lesson kind of breaks down how to do this in parts. So I'm just going to do it all together. So right here we have an argument. Some sailors are not poets because all sailors are mariners, but some poets are not mariners. So when we want to put an argument in syllogism form, the first thing we have to do is find our conclusion. So up here I have little notes. Normally conclusions will start with one of these words. Therefore, thus, so, and consequently. But if you notice in this argument, we don't have that. So the other way to find a conclusion is to know how premises start. A premise can be introduced by the words because, for, or given that. And there's other words, but normally these are the words they use. So I do have one of those in my sentences. So that introduces the premise, all sailors are mariners. So I know that's not my conclusion. But the other thing it tells me is that the sentence that comes before it is usually the conclusion. And most likely in this book, it will always be the conclusion. So I'm going to underline this as my conclusion because that's where I have to start. Now you might consider getting different color highlighters. Or colored pencils. You'll need a color for the major term, the minor term, and the middle term. And all these terms do at this moment in time is tell us which premises are major premise, which premises are minor premise, and the middle term, we'll learn in a little bit, will tell us what our figure is. And where we're going with this is eventually we're going to learn how to determine whether a syllogism is valid or invalid. But this is how we set it up. So all we're learning this week is how to set it up. Okay, so in the little chart that he'll bring home, or that I'll try to bring Sunday if I can remember, this tells you how to find your major and minor terms. Your major term will always be in the predicate of your conclusion, and it's labeled P. So I'm going to use pink for my major term. So in my conclusion, some sailors are not poets. Your predicate comes after the verb. So poets is my major term. And like I said, it's labeled as a P. And I'll write that it's major, so since we're still learning, so we remember. Okay, now the chart will also tell you that your minor term is in your subject of your conclusion. So up here, sailors is my subject. So sailors, oops, I gotta use a different color. Sorry. I'm gonna use green for my minor term. Sailors is my minor term, and it's labeled with an S. And I will write that that's minor. Now what you can do is you can go to your premises and you can go ahead and find the other sailors, circle it, because it's always going to be your minor term in every sentence of the argument. Okay, that's the only other place that sailors is going to be though. If we go back to the major term, which is poets, we want to find it. And right here we have poets. And that is our major term. Okay. Now the middle term is the other term that we have to locate. The middle term is always found in the premise, and it will not be in your conclusion. So if we look at this first premise, all sailors are mariners. Well, there's only one word left. So this word is our middle term. And it's actually labeled M. And it's going to be the same word. Your middle term is always the same word. So in the other premise, it's also mariners. M is for middle. Okay, so that's the first step. So now we have to put it in syllogism form. Syllogism form is always going to be major premise, minor premise, and conclusion. That's always going to be the order. So how do I know which premise is which? Well, I'm going to use pink for the major. Let's see. my major premise is going to have my major term in it. So poets is my major term. So my first sentence I'm going to write is some poets are not mariners. Okay. Now my minor term is sailors. So I'm going to use green. I'm going to find the premise that has the word sailors in it. All sailors are mariners. So that's what I'm going to write. All sailors are mariners. Now I have my conclusion, which I'm going to do in blue. Anytime you write in syllogism form, it doesn't matter which of these words they use. If they use them, I always use therefore, and there's a symbol that you can use instead of writing out therefore. It's this. That means therefore, and you'll use this all the time. Then you're just going to write your conclusion. Some sailors are not poets. Give me just a second, Mike. All right. So that's the argument in syllogism form. Now, the other thing they learn is how to find the mood. The mood has to do with the square of opposition, which I'm pretty sure he knows pretty well. So just for example, you have your square of opposition. You have A, E, I, O. A is all, S is P, E is no, S is P, and then I is some, S is P, and O is some, S is not P. That should be familiar to him because we knew that pretty well before y'all left. So I'm going to look at my first premise, a major premise. Some poets are mariners, and I want to know where it falls on my square of opposition. So essentially I'm saying some S are not P. So that is this one right here. Some S is not P. So I'm just going to put a little dash here. I'm going to put O. All sailors are mariners. Well, that's an A statement. So I'm going to put A. And then for my conclusion, some sailors are not poets. That's an O statement again. Okay, and there's a reason why we do that, and I'll get there in a minute. The next thing that we learn is figure. And on the bottom of this chart, you'll see figure. You'll notice that for a figure, we have, remember, M means middle statement, P means major, S means minor. If you just keep that in mind, then you'll know what you're looking at. So we want to focus on the middle statements on these. So there's 4 different ways that syllogisms can be written based on the middle statement. Figure 1 shows it that in the major premise, it's in the subject, and in the minor premise, it's in the predicate. Figure 2 has it in the predicate of both premises. Figure 3 has it in the subject of both premises. And figure 4 has it in predicate for major and subject for minor. So let's look and see where we said what our middle term up here, we said that the middle term was mariners. So let's go ahead and just circle mariners so that we can see where it's at. That's our middle term. Okay. Well, in this syllogism, mariners, which is only found in the premises, is in the predicate on both. So if I look at my figure, it shows me that the figure that has it in the predicate for both is figure 2. So when I ask for the mood and figure of a syllogism, they're going to tell me that it is figure 2 with a mood of 0, or sorry, not 0, O, A, O, which is these, O, A, O, what we did with the square. And that's all that they learned for the week. And When we go into the next lessons, we'll figure out why do we need to know this and what we're doing with it. So what I just showed you was a lot, but that covered every single lesson with one argument. So if he does the exercises, he'll take it step by step. So if you have any more questions, just let me know.